Well, hello, writers. Welcome to episode number 284 of How Do You Write? I'm Rachael Herron. I am thrilled that you are here with me today as I am talking to Rachael Howzell Hall. It was fantastic to talk to her and to see her again. We talk about things like revision and how motherhood can shape story. And I found especially fascinating how writing longhand is her superpower, something that I am determined to try on my next book. I will let you know how that goes. So can't wait for you to get to that part of the show, into the interview. But before we do that, a little bit of a catch up around here. What is going on? I wanted to start off by making an apology. Um, I, this is going to sound weird, but I actually really love to make an earned apology, and I will explain that in a moment. On either the last episode or the episode before that, I was talking about knowing where you're going in your writing, and I made a cheap crack on Texas. I made a crack on the whole state of Texas. I said, if you're leaving Texas, you should know if you're going to New York or LA. And I said something like, and good for you. I did add no hate against Texas, but you could tell that there was some hate against Texas in my heart when I said it. And it was cheeky and it was rude. And actually, when it came out of my mouth, I don't have hatred for Texas. It was a cheap joke. And a listener wrote and said, that, Rachael, that's not cool. And with permission, I will share just a little bit. She says, in a red state for my entire life, it gets tiresome hearing passive comments like that. I'm an Austin native and a liberal Democrat, and many of us get out and vote every chance we can. And we try against all odds to make things better because we can't all just hit the road. I struggle with this issue frequently, but I have to believe it's worth the trouble to try to make things better here, that my little blue vote is worth masking up and going to the polls for. It's good for some of us to stay and fight. The alternative is giving up and letting people like Greg Abbott continue to make terrible decisions that affect us all. This is my home, and there are many, many things I'd miss if I left. It's such a good note, Amy, and it was one of those that, as I read it, I was like, yep, I was right. I felt that was wrong as it came out of my mouth. I did not edit it away, and I would like to apologize. I love Texas. I have so many friends who live in Texas. My nephew lives in Austin. I love Austin. I adore Houston because of my friend John, who works at Murder Books, and his partner Matt. And I just want to say to the person who wrote me this letter, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for continuing to fight the good fight. The reason I say this is an earned apology is that I believe that I spoke wrongly and I shouldn't have said that. However, if you feel like, if anyone feels like sending me an email saying, I don't like your liberal politics and I am anti-vax and I don't want to hear politics from you, Rachael, that's not something I'm going to apologize for. I don't enjoy, but I will always apologize when I have hurt someone's feelings by error or neglect. But I also don't apologize for my personal opinions, political and otherwise. So to the person who wrote, I'm very grateful that you did. I am very grateful for the compliments that you gave me that I'm not reading out, and for the fact that you will continue listening, and for the fact that you will forgive me for letting that stupid comment come out of my mouth. I apologize for it. So thank you for that. And what else is going on? Regarding my book, Complete, which I have been talking about over on Ease Lessons, my friend Mona's podcast. It's almost done, and it feels right, and it's going to the editor. Hopefully at the end of this week. We don't actually have a firm date. We had said the end of January, which to me, of course, means, beginning of February. But I need to email her and see when she wants it. But I probably could get it out of my hands in less than 3 hours. And if I get given another 15 hours, I could probably put that into it, although I don't want to. And I cannot wait to get it off of my desk. I can't remember if I mentioned last week or not, but I did have a fantastic conversation with my agent, and with her blessing, I am self-publishing the book, which makes me feel good. We had talked about her taking this book out, and I there's nothing legally binding about that conversation. And she hadn't worked on the book. She had not put her sweat equity into helping me revise this book at all, because I feel like she is my agent. When she puts in work, she deserves compensation for that. And if she had been helping me revise this book, I would absolutely not take it away from her. It then becomes partially her book. And she's only paid when it sells, when it makes money. So that would make sense. But she never had her hands on it. She gave me her blessing. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to bring this out later this year. I will be recording the audiobook after the edits come back and I do the edits. But this reminds me, I wanted to say something that I don't know if I ever say clearly enough. And I definitely haven't said it clearly enough to people in my 90-day revision course, because I had a student who was kind of shocked by her revision letter. And but the nice thing was that I got to tell her, oh, no, that's just a regular revision letter. You're in exactly the right place. That is what the editor is supposed to do to you. And yes, it feels terrible. But I want to be really clear about what a revision letter is and what I am expecting back from this editor to whom I am sending my book right now. What has happened is I wrote a book. I wrote a first draft. And then I wrote a second draft. I call this the second makes sense draft. The only thing you're doing in that draft is trying to make things make sense, make the story structure and the character arc and the way they are married together. You're trying to make those make sense for the book. In that second make sense draft, it's usually too difficult to do all the beauty making things to it. And it wouldn't be advisable anyway, because you won't know until that second draft is over what you're really going to keep in the book. So in that class that I teach people to do rounds of revision. It comes in waves in a way. And I always say that the second make sense draft is the hardest draft of your book that you will ever have to do. And I believe that. I stand by that. That is true. You are usually facing a pile of crap, a pile of trash that you do not know if you can make into an actual book, because you first drafted it. It is not good. In many ways, it is bad. And then you make it into something. So that second make sense draft is extremely heavy lifting. I think it's incredibly fun and challenging, but it's the hardest work you will ever do on the book. And then you do subsequent revisions and passes. You are doing this all by yourself. You are making the book as good as you can by yourself, unless you have a professional in the industry that you trust completely to help you a little bit earlier in the process. Sure, you can do that, but otherwise, the vast majority of us, 99.5% of us, will be doing that second make sense draft, and then the third draft, and then the passes. If you do those, we're going to be doing those to the best of our ability by ourselves. After which, when this book is as good as you can make it right now, if you're going to attempt to go the traditional publishing route, that's the point at which you might reach out to try to get an agent. If you are self-publishing, that is the point at which you hire an editor. You can also hire an editor before you reach out for an agent, if that is something that you want to do and that your pocketbook allows. Here's what I have failed to say clearly, is that when the editor reads your book, they are going to see everything that you couldn't see, which will be way more than you thought. You will know that they will come back with a lot, but still there will be something in your heart that hopes, no, I think I pretty much nailed it though. I mean, honestly, I nailed it. You guys, I am looking at this book complete. It is called Complete. It's not quite complete, but it is called Complete, My Year of Fixing, Failing, and Finding Myself. And I am feeling good about it because I am about to send it to her. This is as good as I can make it. The very second my finger hits send to any editor is when I begin to lose faith in the whole project. And when she sends it back with her revision letter, it will be a major revision. It is almost always, 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 always a major revision. It will never be as major as going from first draft to second draft. You've already done the hardest work. However, this is the first time that other professional eyes and another professional brain is looking at this as a piece of art. And their job is to show you where it is broken. And then their job is not to tell you how to fix it. A good editor will rarely tell you how to fix something. They will just point out what the problem is. Sometimes they might give some suggestions, but usually no. And then your job as the reviser of your book is to fix it using their excellent suggestions. And their excellent suggestions usually sound like the most stupid ideas you have ever heard. And that particular belief lasts for about 72 hours. So allow yourself to hold that, allow yourself to be angry that you spent money or that you're working with an editor who is that dumb. You wasted your cash. And then about 72 hours in, one thing that she said might be a good idea. And then by the end of, at the end of the week, she's a genius. She was completely right. And you're ready to do the work. Or if not ready, you are getting ready to feel ready. But then you use the tools that you have already used to revise your book several times. And you just start out again. And you kind of go into this wilderness now with someone else's advice on how you could make it better. And while it is daunting and hard and scary, it is absolutely doable. You've already done the hardest part. And if you have done revision already on this book, you've already ripped it apart and put it back together yourself, you can do it again. And it will be easier. It is just scary when you get that revision letter. And what the revision letter can often feel like is you failed. You thought this was good? No, it's not. You failed. And that is not what a revision letter is. A revision letter is saying, here are some places it can be stronger. We do not pay editors to praise us. We pay editors to tell us where we can make our books better. So I just wanted to kind of encourage you on that and let you know that if you are in the position of receiving a revision letter in the next 6 to 12 months, know that that is coming. And it's awesome. It's awesome, but do give yourself those 72 hours to freak out. You don't have to take any action in those first couple of days. Okay, that's what I wanted to tell you about today. Otherwise, New Zealand's going great. Omicron, I don't even know how to say it, has gotten in, and within the next week or two, we are expected to have major spikes, which New Zealand has never had, and which I'm bummed about and stressed out about because I just keep hearing from a lot of New Zealanders who are saying, well, if you're vaxxed and boosted, you'll be fine. And that's not the end of it. We all know that that's not the end of it. We have immunocompromised people. Anyway, we don't need to go into it on here, but I'm a little bit stressed out and I'm kind of locking ourselves down because as the spikes go, I would like to, if I'm going to get it, I'd like to be one of the people in the later stages to get it when the curves have flattened out a little bit so that we don't stress the national healthcare system here, who has not had to deal with COVID yet in any significant way. So that is, I'm just going to be staying in and writing. I'm going to be doing. Luckily, I can go to the beach and swim, which I've been loving doing. And I can write. I can write safely at my desk. How about you? Are you getting your writing done? If you are not, can you take a moment right now to think about the next time you will sit down for 15 minutes and do your writing? Got it? Okay, I want you to do it later today, tomorrow morning. Put it on your calendar, honor it, and then come find me where I am and tell me that you did, because I really, really love to hear that. And you guys do tell me, and I do listen. So keep me posted on that. In the meantime, please enjoy this fabulous interview with Rachael. I know that you will. And I wish you happy writing, my friends. Well, I could not be more pleased to welcome to the show Rachael Howzell Hall. Hello, Rachael.
Hello, Rachel. AEL.
You're an EL. That's how they'll tell us apart. I am so thrilled to have you on the show. We were on a panel way back somewhere. I don't remember what conference it was. Writer's Digest, maybe.
Yes, it was Writer's
Digest. I feel like it was.
And that was 3 years ago?
It must be 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I haven't really done much since then in terms of conferences. 2020 took us all out, and I don't think I did much
Yeah,
in
that
2019.
was pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when I saw your new book come out, These Toxic Things, I grabbed it immediately. And it's, if you're watching on the YouTube video, the cover is fantastic for These Toxic Things.
And
And
even
it,
the fall
oh,
makeup book.
when you take
Yeah.
the jacket off,
Look at that.
it's incredible. It's red with the black bear tree on it. That is beautiful, Rachel. Let me give you a little bio before we forget to do all the things that my job entail here. Okay, Rachael Howzell Hall is the critically acclaimed author of the Amazon charts bestseller, These Toxic Things, and the Los Angeles Times Book Prize nominated And Now She's Gone, which was also nominated for the Lefty, Barry, Seamus, and Anthony Awards. Also author of the Audible original bestseller, How It Ends. Rachael is a New York Times bestselling author of The Good Sister with James Patterson, and is a former member of the board of directors for Mystery Writers of America. She has been featured writer on NPR's acclaimed Crime in the City series and the National Endowment for the Arts Weekly podcast. She has also served as a mentor in Pitch Wars and Association of Writers program. Rachael lives in Los Angeles with her husband and daughter. Thank you for writing this book. Let's talk about this book briefly. It was one of those books that I'm always I'm newly a thriller writer. My last two released books have been thrillers. And I find them so hard to write. Because I always end up writing women's fiction, and then my editor says, okay, but put in more stabbing, take out some emotion, put in more stabbing, and you've got it. Your book, I fell into not only because it was thrilling and tense and all of those things, but immediately I was inside the body of this character and the head and the brain and the humor of this character. And I'm deviating 100% from the questions I will eventually get to. But how did you pull off this goal that all writers have of making a protagonist who I was in love with on page one? It was one of those, like, I get a lot of sample chapters, and I'll read usually the full sample before I push by. Yours was push by on the first page. Just, nope, I got it. I'm in. So how do you do that?
Well, first, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here and happy to see you again and reconnecting. The world is small. So
it is.
Little did we know, right? Back in Pasadena.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Pasadena.
Yeah. And thank you for reading These Toxic Things and loving it. In case you don't know, if you're listening, what the book is about, it's about digital scrapbooker Mickey Lambert. Digital meaning she takes people's memories and curates them and loads them into something like an Alexa device so that you can say, hey, memory bank, give me a story about my honeymoon in the Poconos. And this memory bank will have pictures of you and your loved one and tchotchkes and a story that Mickey will write about your time in the Poconos. And so,
which is genius, by the way, just such a genius thing.
And we could talk about how that even came about. But she is hired to curate the memories of a curio store owner, Nadia Denham, who is forgetting. She's older and she's starting to forget her memories. And she has 13 memories that she wants Mickey to curate. And as soon as Mickey starts the project, Nadia is found dead in the little apartment above the store. And since Mickey's been paid to do this, she wants to fulfill her client's wishes, and she continues to curate these memories. And there's something weird about them. And Mickey wants to find out if these memories have anything to do with Nadia's death. So that's the story. And I wanted to write a character who, for the first time, wasn't centered on my experience as a 51-year-old woman. Mm-hmm. I wanted to take a mix between my daughter, who's 17, and my oldest niece, who's 27, and take these young, energetic, vibrant, friendly, interesting young women who have grown up in a world of technology, but still have parents who are Gen X or boomers, and throw them in a world where everything's not so easy to understand, where going onto Google will not answer your questions, where the world is still kind of analog. I wanted to tell the story of a young woman who's so protected and so loved, and despite being protected and loved, danger can still, come to her. And I wanted to write another LA story. I'm a native Angelino, and I love this city, and it's changing. And the location of the store is in the part of Black Los Angeles that is in flux right now because of gentrification. The Google campus and Silicon Beach is less than 4 miles away from where I live. And so a lot of those young hires, they're moving into our neighborhoods and things are changing. So I wanted to tell all these stories with this young woman at the center of change and what used to be and how I remember things and all the rest of it. And yeah, there's some, scary stuff, but yeah, I like laughing too, even in the face of danger.
I think that's what drew me in originally, that not only was there going to be suspense and tension, and I know that that's coming, but the humor was so friendly. It was it's really friendly humor. And I can get with, jaded and cynical, and, I'll read all those books too. But this one, she's just such a great character. And I loved being with her. I'm doing the typical reader thing. Will there be another book about her?
Probably not.
Okay.
Never say never. Especially if, Hollywood would ever come calling, that always opens up the door to. But I loved Mickey, and I loved Mickey's relationships with both of her parents.
Oh my God, I loved her parents so much.
And I am actually Corey. That's who I saw myself, and my light is about to crash, and there it went. But
it's okay. My microphone might fall off at any minute. So
but yeah, I see myself as Corey, Mickey's mom, who is the one offering advice, who knows some things that she can't tell her daughter yet because it's not time, and then it is time, and oh God, now, who's seen things, who has her own secrets, who was someone before she became a mom. And we're all that. We're all someone before we became someone's wife or someone's teacher, someone's something. Yeah. We're all, we are who we are. We pass lessons, and we share our memories and our thoughts of who we still are, but it's either split and divided, or it's been silenced some. So it's in some ways a big story, because yes, it's about Mickey, but it's also about a lot of women who find themselves reinventing themselves and wanting to forget parts of how they came to be. So yeah.
I love that. It is such a big story. It's got all the women's fiction elements that I love. Plus just thriller. Lovely. Thank you so much for writing it. Speaking of writing it, how do you write it? Let's talk about your process for writing, for getting all these books done, for getting all this work done, when, where, how, all of that.
So this is part of the women in our thousands of roles and hats we play. I still work a day job. I am a fundraising writer.
Do you?
Yes. And not only that, I'm a fundraising writer for Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, which is a big medical center down here in LA, where, we have very famous, of course, patients and regular patients. And you could imagine what my life was like March 13th, 2020, as one of the communications writers at a major medical center in Los Angeles.
I cannot even imagine.
Yeah, so it was a bit much in some ways, but all my jobs, I've always had a day job, and I've been blessed enough since 2008 or so, to have a job where I write all day. Even with that, and even though, my day jobs are purpose-driven and mission-filled, and being a blessing to others, I still save the best writing for myself. And so I get up at 4:40 every morning to write my novels.
That is,
and
I loved it. I was a 4 o'clock baby when I still had my full-time day job. That's when I did it.
It's quiet. Your mind is like springy, and I go to bed at 9:20. So I'm like ready. And it's just me. I feed the dog, I feed the two cats, I make my Nescafe instant coffee, and I sit down and write until about 6:45. And now 6:45, I get up and walk my daughter. She drives to school now, and see her off. And that's the break where it's like, okay, bye-bye novel writing. Now it's time for day job. And back in the day, I would write at lunchtime, and then in my car. And then I write at soccer practice, basketball practice, whatever extracurricular my daughter was doing after school, I would write. Now I get up. I probably, what do I do at lunchtime now? Because I'm so tired. I will either watch some HLN murder show or I will play a video game for my lunch. And after I get off work around 3:30 or so, I'll do some thoughtless writing, kind of like, transcribing, because I write my first drafts longhand. So
That's wonderful. Can you
yeah.
tell me details about how you do that? Like, is it on a legal pad? Is it
Yes,
pencil?
it's back there somewhere. It's legal pad, and I used the different colored pens. So if they're Intergels or Uniballs, every writing session I use one color pen, and then the next another. That's actually pens. And this is a question you asked later. Pens are how I kind of, now that I'm working at home primarily, are how I know, or my way of breaking my day job from my novel writing job. I have a set of pens for work and a set of pens for my novels. And that's my separation.
This is a craft tip I have never heard. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you have to find something.
Yeah.
I had to find something, because now I had always been very proud of keeping that division clean, day job writing. But now at home, it's all mixed together on the same computer sometimes. And I needed something. And it's like I use my little cheap Target color gel pens for work, and my nicer, fancier pens for novels. And that's how I know that this is mine and that's theirs.
I think that is so brilliant. And you change the pen color every day, so you can see that, like, I was purple then, and then I was pink, and then wow.
Because again, having so many other things to do, and because I write longhand, I need to see progress. I am an outliner, and so I like crossing things out. I like actually seeing my progress and seeing that, okay, I'm making my way to there is a horizon. I'm doing it. I need it. Yeah.
That's another thing that's kind of, I don't hear much of. You're an outliner and a hand writer for the first draft. That's an interesting combination.
Yeah. For my day job, I don't need to necessarily write longhand. I can type straight into the computer, and I don't know what that is, but for my novels, I need the freedom of the page and the scrawl. And I want to feel that none of this has to be. I can always, change it in later drafts. I feel better about that. And I like office supplies. Like, I will go into Staples and Office Depot, an hour later, I am finally checking out, because I will go down each aisle and say, do I need that? How is that going to help me? Yeah, I love it. That's
like back to school sales. I've never had kids, but I go to the back to school sales. Just, it's just the best.
Yes. It's like, I will ask my daughter, like, mid-year, it's like, do you need some school supplies?
Because I'll go for you.
No, I have a cabinet in my, one of those little roller plastic thing, drawer case things in my closet with all the excess, those writing supply stuff in there, which I keep up. Yeah, I can't stop. So yeah. No, I think that the day job is very helpful in feeding me and paying tuition and all those things that money helps, but it also helps that writing muscle. I part of my job is writing executive communication. So that's condolence letters, that's board of director memos, that's all kinds of things. And when someone's like, we need a memo to the board of directors about this thing, I can't say, I'm not really feeling it. I was tired last night and the muse just isn't. No, I have to write it. Come hell or high water, it has to be written in 3 hours. And so when I come to sit and write my own stuff, I bring that kind of same muscle with, okay, I have to put it out, and I do it. With the novel, it's better because I know that what I'm forcing myself to write, I'm going to get to revise. I always write the first draft all the way through. I don't look back. And I know that. And it's worked so far. So yeah.
So how much revision happens from the handwritten page to inputting it that afternoon or whatever? Is there a little bit of just
I wait
cleanup,
until
or
the
just
very end, after I'm finished the entire draft. If I'm doing some mindless transcribing, I'm like cleaning things up as I'm typing. But for the most part, the bulk of it is written afterwards. And then I see how awful it is and how kind of far it is from what I envisioned.
Because it's the first draft and it should be terrible.
Yeah. And then that second draft is a wreck, because that's when you're like, okay, I don't know 10,000 things, and I need to research these 10,000 things and then kind of put this back together again. And I'm, writing on hard copy. And after I make it's all ugly and Post-its all over the pages, I type all that back into, I don't like click and edit into no, I type it all again, because it's such a mess. It's more effort for me to insert, sentences and words in. It's like, no, just type it all in, because then that's another draft. I'm cleaning up again as I go. My favorite draft is number 3 or 4, where the story's there, the research is there. Now I actually know what the story is about, and I can go back and put in motivations more clearly. I can make the plot, stronger. I can, actually make it into a story. And then around 5th draft, that's for me, that's when it's art. That's when you're reading it aloud and you're like, oh, okay, I'm not so stupid after all.
Yeah.
And this is a book and this is going to work. But at first, I hate first drafts.
I hate them so much, but I actually really love this idea of thinking about doing it longhand, because you just can't go back. You must keep going. I'm not going to try to figure out on page 45 of 200 pieces of paper what I was thinking. I'm just going to guess and keep forward. I can't. There's no control F for finding where you. Exactly. I don't know, Rachel. Exactly. I'm gearing up to write my next novel. Maybe I'll try this.
Try it. It forces you to go forward, because you're right. You're not numbering these, and that's my golden retriever.
I've got somebody sawing logs out here. Don't worry about it. I love hearing dog.
You're not numbering the pages. You have no idea where that thing is that you wrote. You have to go forward. And in order for you to revisit that, you have to type it all in. It's like a mystery within a mystery.
You are blowing my mind right now, and I just want to try this. Oh, okay. That is so cool. What is your what's your absolute biggest challenge when it comes to writing? Is it the first draft?
It is that first draft, because like most writers, even with so many books under my belt, I am still not convinced that I know what I'm doing, that it'll work this time, that, what seemed like a good idea is actually going to make it. I remember, starting the first draft of these toxic things, and what sounded like really cool. It's like, well, is there a story there? I guess it is, but it takes a moment. And that's always my biggest obstacle, is me believing that I actually have the skills to pull this off. And I don't know if that's going to come in this. No, it's not coming in this book, because what I'm writing actively now, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe if novel 15, maybe 16. I don't know. I'm looking forward to that day. I'll let you know when it happens.
Please do. What is your biggest joy when it comes to writing?
I would say knowing that I'm doing something that so many people have tried to do. I think knowing that I have some talent and
Oh yeah, you
that
do. As your number one biggest fan, yes, you do.
but it's like, yeah, I'm good at, I can't add, so I can write, and that comes in handy. Ask my daughter, who we just finished, college
Oh
applications
right,
submission
yeah,
and all those essays. So, the storytelling that's come in handy. But that is my biggest joy. And also, you know, just being able to do this and make a little money. I'm not like extraordinarily wealthy from my writing. Let's get that. If you're
Not,
listening and you
none
think
of us
you're
are.
gonna,
Yeah,
no, but it's a life enhancer in some ways.
yeah.
Like it's helped pay for soccer club fees or for vacation. That extra kind of fancy cheese you like, little things that make your life a little better.
Yeah.
It's kind of miserable though when you have to pay 31% of it away, but it's still more than what I would have had. So it's like a mix that this is a blessing. And I see it as such. And, do I want to be Leanne Moriarty famous? Of course. But I'm Rachel Howzell Hall famous. And I remember, praying just to have one published book. And now here I am with more than that. So that's something. And it's just now that I am stopping long enough sometimes to say, this is kind of cool. I wrote with James Patterson. My book was on the Times Square billboard.
Oh
There's so
my
many,
God.
yeah, there's so many
Yeah.
cool things that happen. But for us A-types, especially, who are like, what's next? What's next? What do I need to do? What happens now? You're just moving from task to task, checking things off, and you don't stop long enough. And I'm learning to appreciate it more. So
That is,
yeah.
that's
Mhm.
really gorgeous. I've stopped keeping to-do lists. I still keep a to-do list. I just hide it from myself. But now a student taught me this phrase. I keep a ta-da list now. Ta-da.
Oh,
And
ooh.
everything
It's
that I
like
do all
wins.
day. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
exactly. Just like writing down those things that I did get accomplished. And I'm trying, because I'm very type A as well. I'm trying at the end of the day to look at it and say, or at least at the end of the week, say, okay, you feel like a failure because you didn't write 6 books this week, but like what, but look at all
Mm,
the things you did do. That's freaking amazing. And
knowledge. I like that.
it's helping me kind of rest in that moment and not leap to the next thing, which is
Yeah.
really, I really
Maybe I'll
identify
try
with
that.
that.
We're learning
I
something from
I
because
think you should.
yeah.
Let me ask you, I love your craft tip on the pen. Did you have anything else on the craft tip, or would you like to move on to the next question?
I tried Scrivener. It just was too much. It's like I am
It's
using
a
so
lot.
much time trying to
Yeah.
learn this freaking
So what do you
software.
use?
Um, index cards,
I have
legal
recently
size sheets.
rediscovered my love of index
Aren't
cards.
they lovely? They're
I
so
had
simple.
forgotten. They're so
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. And legal size sheets of paper with tape that I create like a long scrolling for timelines, which I suck at. Yeah.
Oh,
And I'm trying this software called Plotter, Plottr. And it kind of does that whole vertical, no, the horizontal timeline like thing. And it's really simple and
I
it's fine,
downloaded
but
it once and it confused me a little bit, so I didn't do
yeah, yeah. And as I'm learning more about the story I want to tell, it's like, do I need to go back and enter it or what? With cards, you just scratch things out or just insert it. So
it.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of seeing the value of just the tried and true methods of index cards, Sharpies, and pens.
And then when you do enter it, are you just working straight in Word?
Word,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what the publishing industry
Word,
wants.
Times New Roman, 12
12 point font.
point, double space. Yeah, it's so, and that's all sometimes you just need. That's the wonderful
Yeah.
thing about writing, but that's also the dangerous thing about writing because, it's so accessible. Everybody thinks they can do it. But as a professional day job writer, working with some of the smartest minds, researchers in the world, not everybody can write.
Yeah.
Not
It's
everyone
one of
can write
those,
effectively. We'll say that.
but everybody thinks that they can because they
Yeah.
speak English and they walk around the world using the tools that we use to create books.
Yeah. You
That's
know,
a
it's
really good
totally
point.
different. So, mhm.
Let me ask you, what thing in your life affects your writing in a surprising way?
Being a mom, which
Okay, tell me
I
more.
was not a mom type at all, at all. But then my first book was published the first anniversary of 9/11, and that was quite something. Trying to write
Oh, I
publish
can't even
and tell
imagine.
us, yeah, it was a mess. And after that, I got pregnant. We got pregnant, and in my first big visit with my OBGYN, she discovered a lump in my breast. And she's like, pregnant breasts, they're lumpy. We'll just check it out. And I, went to my UCLA radiologist, and it turned out to be more than that. And
Oh
my
my God.
pregnancy
While you're
was
pregnant.
feeding the tumor. Yeah, the estrogen was feeding it. And so when I was 6 months pregnant, it was cancer. It was a sarcoma, and I had to have a partial mastectomy 6 months pregnant. And, it's something to already kind of be
Wow.
dealing with something like that, but to be pregnant and, you know, signing papers that says, okay, you may not make through the surgery, and neither will your unborn child. It was something. But we pulled through. 3 years after that, my other breasts, they found precancerous calcifications. And at this time, my doctors are like, your body likes making lumps. And so we're going to put you on tamoxifen for 5 years because,
Mm,
and I was 37.
mm.
And here I am thinking about mortality, what my life could be, what it may not be. And that clarifies some things for you. And I hadn't been able to get another book deal since that first one in 2002. And at this point, I'm like, well, what do I want to do before I die? Right. And I wanted to write a mix between Terry McMillan's Waiting to Excel and Walter Mosley's Devil in the Blue Dress. And
Lovely.
that became Land of Shadows, the first of my in the Lou Norton series. And, you know, being pregnant, the lump was there. It was just tiny, tiny, tiny. And I was only 32. And so doctors back then in 2002, really 2003, they weren't checking young women. We weren't doing mammograms at 32,
Yeah.
33 years old. Had I not been pregnant and had the estrogen not kicked it up some, they wouldn't have caught it, because why would they? Why would they be checking my breast? I didn't
Oh
have
my
like
God.
an immediate history of breast
Right.
cancer. So my daughter, her existence helped manifest something that was growing inside of me that no one knew was there. And so she and I, all three of us, but she and I especially, have this really close bond that, I do so much for her, not necessarily directly, but I want her to see that you can be a day jobber, you can be someone's wife, someone's mother, but you can also have that part of yourself that's you. And the part that's me is I'm the word nerd. I'm the bookworm. I've loved books since the very beginning of as soon as I picked up a book. And I want to write. I will get up at 4:40 in the morning to do it. I will, hustle and do Zooms and travel places and write stories that go nowhere because I love it and it's a part of me. And she sees that. And I love that she sees it. And I pray that, she takes that lesson and that she keeps that part of herself that is Maya forever and ever. And, when we were all quarantined last year together, she helped me in many ways come up with this in ways, because she was, thinking about her memories, because now she wasn't seeing friends. She's 16, going through all kinds of things. And we were cleaning closets out and sharing memories, and her memories show up on her phone, that this is where you were last year. And I have albums, physical pictures. And so we actually ordered some pictures to come and feel them. But it got me thinking about how our generations differ in that. You and I, we both grew up, after a trip, you get tchotchkes, you go to the souvenir store and you grab that, and you have all these things that that symbolize who you are.
And all those
And right
boxes
now
of
it's like, well,
negatives that we were
right,
keep.
negatives. I
Yeah.
have rolls of film that we still haven't developed. We have, and for kids nowadays,
Yeah.
it's like, do they get the refrigerator magnets? Do they,
I don't
get the
know.
Polaroids and all that stuff that are in your closets? Do you get
Yeah.
that? And so I wanted to tell, in some ways, her story, her generation story of being raised by Gen X parents who still live in an analog world in some ways, but kind of dig the digital because, I mean, that's who we
Yeah.
are. So yeah, in a long way, I'm starting to write stories about young women and me being kind of the mom character on the outside and imparting lessons. There's one favorite scene of mine in These Toxic Things, and it's towards the end where Mickey, Mickey is upset and boyfriend stuff, and Corey, her mom, she's comforting her, and they're in Mickey's apartment and they're watching Golden Girls and eating popcorn and drinking red wine. And Mickey is still learning lessons from her mom, even at 24 years old. And I love that scene because even though my daughter, she can't drink yet, but we do that. We love Golden Girls. I watch it every night before going to bed. And we have frank conversations. I want her to know that there's nothing she can ever tell me that will scare me, blow me away, make me shut down. I want to be there. And so I'm getting to share that in my stories now, and watching my characters grow up and having a wise woman who loves her right there. Also,
There was a moment, and I can't even attach it to a point in the book, but I know that it happened. I can't remember the plot point it was around, and I wouldn't want to spoil anything anyway. But there's a moment where Corey comforts Mickey in some way and then leaves her to deal with it.
Yeah.
Like she can't fix it. Corey doesn't say, "Okay, I'm going to wave the magic wand and I'm going to take care of all of this." She can't, and must walk away and let Mickey. It was just so gorgeous. It was so beautifully handled. And my core story that I'm always writing about and that I always want to read is the mother-daughter relationship. So I think maybe that's another reason why I was just so in love with this. But I also want to point out
complicated mother-daughter relationships from the beginning of the world to the end. Mom, terms of endearment is always like my North Star. And the whole scene, and I get it now, where Shirley MacLaine, Deborah Winger is sick in the hospital and dying, and Shirley MacLaine just goes off at the nurse's station saying, "Give my daughter the shot." And it's like, I get that. But their relationship up until there had been like weird and cranky and, nebulous and wonderful. So yeah, I think about that story every time I write a story where there's a mother and a daughter.
Also, your ability to tell story, I just want to point out for listeners, just came through so well when I said what thing in your life affects your writing in a surprising way. And you said motherhood. And then you took us on an emotional journey, honestly, a beautiful emotional journey that we were absolutely with you for the cancer, for the birth, for this girl now looking through photographs with you. And people, this is why you need to read Rachael. That's what I'm saying. This is what she does. So, and you just did it automatically as you were speaking. You're such a natural, incredible storyteller. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
What is the best book that you've read recently?
It just came out yesterday, and it's called All Her Little Secrets, because I have this thing about secrets, and it's by Wanda Morris.
Okay.
And it's about an African-American woman. She's an attorney who gets caught up in like this law firm madness. It's like Black lady meets the firm, and so that's the A story. But the B story is about secrets and childhood and reinventing yourself, and what people who love you will do to help you escape bad situations, tragedy, and life. So pick that up. All Her Little Secrets. I blurbed it. I liked it so much.
Oh, fabulous. Okay, that's going right to the top of my one-click TBR pile, which is always growing. Okay, so where can we find you and These Toxic Things out there in the world?
You can find me on at any of your independent bookstores, from Mysterious Galaxy to Murder
Yes,
by the
love that
Book.
store. Oh, I
Also
love that store.
Amazon, which they have everything, and they have these toxic things. So yes, I'm
Perfect.
everywhere.
Rachael, thank you. Thank you so much for being my first guest being broadcast from my new office here. I have been really looking forward to talking to you about this book and about your writing process. And you do not
Thank
let
you.
down. I have even bigger like heart eyes now for your work.
Oh, it's wonderful reconnecting and seeing you again.
Thank you. And I wish you very, very happy writing and all good things.
Thank you.